Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Stephanie with Lumeria Star, and today what we're going to do is we're just going to go through my April decks and what I worked with. So let's just kind of get into them. I will preface this video with saying, and I think for those of you who do follow me on Instagram, I was sharing this month that I'm really experiencing for the first real time since I've even discovered tarot. So I want to say it's been the past 8 years since I've been practicing tarot. It's the first time I'm significantly feeling burnt out, disconnected from my practice. So that kind of freaked me out. So this video might be shorter just because I'm filming it now. It's May 1st, but I'm reflecting back on the month, and I was just feeling super disconnected to tarot. So I want to share with you the decks I did work with, but also that's just a reflection of where I've been at too. Still kind of feeling in that space, definitely kind of getting back into my practice and coming up with some creative ways to reconnect, which I will also share. But without further ado, let's just get into the decks because that's the fun part. So the first deck that I worked with for the month of April is the Honasa House Tarot. That is how you pronounce her name because I asked her on Instagram. And this, I believe, is the 4th edition, I think. So it's got this kind of long and skinny card shape, which I love, but I will say makes it really difficult to shuffle, really difficult. But anyway, I love her artwork. I love this moon card. I love the limited color palette. It's honestly so beautiful. I think it reminds me of I don't know, an illustration style from my childhood. I don't know if it was some kind of fairy tale books or something, but it just, whenever I see this art style, I feel this nostalgia. So I don't know, that's part of the reason why I really love this, but also the artwork is really beautiful and really evocative. So I just adore this deck. I also have the 5th edition, which is more of a tarot size card, and the coloration is different. It's more of greens and yellows, and I would really love to kind of collect them all. I know that her previous decks are all out of print, and it would probably be really fun to hunt them all down. I know they're you can find some of them on eBay for ridiculous amounts of money that I'm not willing to pay for. It's just, that's not worth it to me personally. But I think it would be fun to try to kind of collect them all. But yeah, this artwork's beautiful. I feel really drawn to use it in the springtime, so I usually kind of break this out around April, May. And despite my tarot burnout, this deck is always a really fun one to work with. So that's the Honasa House Tarot. Okay, the next deck I always like to work with, and I really need to get a nice bag for this because it's just in this very sad, plain tuck box, is I call it the Pastel Waite Tarot. I don't really know if it has a name. I found this years ago on Make Playing Cards. I wish I could, what am I trying to say? I wish I could connect or at least share with you the creator's name, but I really have no idea. I've tried looking in my email and looking at past purchases, but I just found this off of Make Playing Cards. I thought it was so cool that it was given just this pastel makeover. So I'm really drawn to this deck come springtime. Whenever I think of spring, I think of pretty pastel colors. And I just love that it's a Rider-Waite Smith that is recolorized in a way that I find just really aesthetically pleasing. I feel the traditional editions that I have, so just the standard RWS, which has the very kind of garish, really bright colors, and then the Centennial edition, which I also have, which is kind of I know it's supposed to look kind of faded and worn, but to me it just looks so drab and I don't know, kind of depressing. So I love how when I find decks like this, it helps me connect to the traditional imagery of the Rider-Waite-Smith, how Pamela Coleman Smith saw, like how she wanted us to interpret the artwork, but in just like a color palette that just, I don't know, just, I feel like I can connect with it more. And it's just, I don't know, it's just like nicer to look at. So this is always a fun one. I like to break out come springtime. And this is another one that I found myself, despite the tarot burnout, just having a fun time kind of shuffling and playing with. So really need to find a cute pastel springy bag for that deck. Okay, so you know what, now that I'm like kind of reflecting on it, I was really enjoying a lot of these decks this month, despite me saying I'm burnt out with tarot. Tarot de Carla Tiddes is another one that I really enjoy. Let's see, where are the extra cards? Oh, they're in there. So the things I love about this deck, number one, the size. It is smaller than a standard tarot, and I have small hands, so it's just really easy to shuffle and manipulate. These backs are some of the prettiest tarot backs that I've seen. It's probably one of my favorite card backings ever. And this artwork is just so whimsical and fantastical and feminine and delicate and colorful and strange. It like doesn't make sense and have continuity, but it does. It's just got a little bit of everything. And this energy just feels very springy to me. Like, look at these. So some of the imagery is Rider-Waite-Smith based. Others go its own way. It feels very like there's pagan elements to it. There are pop culture references in it, like David Bowie is in it. Let's see what else we have here. This is a Klimt painting, I believe. What else do we have in here? I know we have a reference to Midsummer. There we go. One of my favorite horror films. We've got the May Queen here, which I love. This deck is just so fun. I wish it did come with a comprehensive guidebook. It just comes with like the little white book that I don't really use. It would be amazing if there was like a newer edition of this deck with a more comprehensive guidebook explaining the artwork. I think that would be an amazing revision to this deck. I love this death card. It's just really fun. We've got the Princess and the Pea here. So we've got the fairy tale references. Oh, here's the David Bowie card. And we've got like, I don't know, this old kind of crone figure. Love that. So that is the Tarot de Carla Tiddes. And I also really enjoy being able to take this out. And this deck just screams spring to me. So I do like to pull this one out in the spring months. And this is a Fournier deck. Okay, so again, amidst the tarot burnout, decks I can always rely on to help me connect is the Seasons of the Witch Oracle deck series. So I'm actually filming this on May 1st, so it is Beltane today. I love this deck. I like to use it leading up to the Sabbath, and I'll probably continue to use this a bit more this month in May, probably for my like journal practice. But I love these decks. I feel like even when I am feeling disconnected to my practice and my cards, this deck series has a wonderful way of helping me connect to the natural rhythms of life, what's going on outside, what's going on in nature. And the theming is beautiful. So like Beltane, we've got a lot of like fertility, abundance, sex magic, a lot of sensual energy, getting back into the body, feeling primal. Oh, this deck is so good. We've got a repeating theme of bumblebees in here and honey. I mean, we have a card called Orgasm. Like, how great is that? Sacred Waters, Phoenix. We've got some animal energies in here. Embodiment. This deck is wonderful. Indulgence. Honey. Like, how sensual are these cards? I love this growth card, how these like leaves and flowers are literally just kind of growing out of her. That's definitely an energy I think of when we enter springtime. This is also a really beautiful card. Self-worship. I actually just did the self-worship spread from the guidebook this morning, and that was really powerful. Goat. Fae energy, flower crowns. Like, this is just a very sensual, earthy, mothering energy type deck. And I really, really welcome it this time of year. So I will continue working with this deck this month, probably with my journal practice. I really like to get my fill of these decks before I put them away for the next Sabbath. So I just love these. I can't wait to transition over to the Litha Oracle, which I was lucky enough that Rockpool sent me an early copy. So I'll probably use that. Maybe I'll use this for like half the month and then kind of transition over to Litha as we work our way up to, when is Litha? I think it's June, is it June 21st? First day of summer. But love this, want to get the most out of this deck before I switch over to the next deck. But these are just so much fun. If you're not familiar with this series and seasonal energy resonates with you, definitely check out this series. It's a Rockpool deck. Love. Love, love. Okay, so an old favorite, my Antique Anatomy Ephemera edition. This is the indie version. So this is actually one of the very first decks I ever owned in my tarot journey. I want to say maybe it was like the third deck I ever had. And I have a really special connection with this deck. So for me to use it this month, amidst feeling my disconnection, it was actually really nice to remember like how important this deck was in my tarot development journey. I remember when I got this deck, again, I was still really like a really new reader, and this came with no guidebook. Like, it was literally just this deck and these very pippish cards. So it didn't leave much to the imagery to really sink into like a scene. So I really had to not only learn some numerology, but I had to learn to read more intuitively. So I remember years ago taking this deck with me on a trip to Salem, Massachusetts, which is just like one of my magical happy places that I like to visit fairly often. And I just pulled cards every day. And actually that's where I decided to start my Lumeria Star kind of name and brand, if you want to call it that. And I decided I wanted to start an account just kind of documenting my tarot journey, and this was the deck I was using. So it feels really special, and this feels like a very Steph core deck because I feel like it juxtaposes things that I love, which is, you know, beautiful, feminine, delicate things like flowers and botanicals, alongside dark and macabre things like bones and knives. Like, I feel like that very much encompasses my aesthetic. What was fun with using this deck this month while being burnt out is I actually also have the mass market edition, and the reason I bought that is just simply because I wanted this little guidebook. But it's also nice to have a backup copy. I actually use my mass market copy like when I travel because it's like less precious to me, I guess. But using my indie version, I was really taking my time with the guidebook when I was doing my readings, and that felt like a really nice way to recenter and kind of letting who's the author, Claire Goodchild, kind of like letting her do the readings for me. So I was reading, you know, what she wrote and the keywords, and a lot of times I don't take the time with my guidebooks, and I found that reconnecting to the guidebooks is a really nice thing to do when you're feeling disconnected from the cards. Like, it's a way for almost like someone else to do the reading for you and just kind of get your intuition flowing. So just a little tip that I've discovered myself this month is, when in doubt, let the guidebook do the work. And maybe you've never even taken the time to look at some of your guidebooks. So that was really fun for me. So this was pretty fun for me to reconnect with this month for April. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more decks to work with, or to look at. Let's see. Let's also go. I have a deck here in this pouch, which has no box, and you'll see why in a minute. So this is kind of the companion oracle decks to the Antique Anatomy. This is the Oracle of Oddities, and this is the first, second, and third edition. I was able to kind of get them all when they were originally out. I don't know if she still sells these. I'm not sure if this is out of print, but I was able to get all 3, and then I took the plunge and made the mega deck. I don't know if I threw away the boxes or if I still have them somewhere, but I was like, you know what, this whole deck belongs together. So we have a mega deck, which is why I have a bag for it. And this is also super fun. I feel like it's a nice way to, it's a nice deck to use in the spring when I'm also craving that like darker macabre energy, which is very much something I enjoy. And I think it's something you can enjoy all year round. And the beautiful botanicals kind of help connect those two energies for me. So really beautiful. Again, this oracle deck was also pretty pivotal in my tarot journey, because this also didn't have a guidebook, and it just had keywords, and like I just had to simply go off of that. And this has been such a fun deck to work with. So I'm really glad I still have this in my collection. This one I don't think will ever go anywhere, just because again it feels very Steph core, if you will. Lumeria Star Core. All right, so let's shift over to this beautiful art deck. This is the Kai Tarot Love deck. We got little bits here. So this deck is, I believe it's like just like what is it described as? Like a multimedia kind of abstract artwork. These are the backs. Yeah, I guess the artwork would be considered abstract. You can tell like there's kind of multiple art mediums in here. And this is a deck that I just find really gentle and loving and evocative. And it's a slower deck. It wants me to take my time. I found with this deck, it works best with just like 1 card pulls. And at the most, maybe 2 cards. But it's a deck that just wants you to take your time. I think this, I haven't done this, but I think this would be a great deck for meditation. Just pulling 1 card and sitting with that and sitting with the image. I love the color palette in this. I just think it's really beautiful. And I'll also show you the simplicity of the guidebook and why I like that as well. So with the guidebook, it's just this simple little tied together booklet with a string. The messages are very, very simplistic. So for the Fool, 0 point. Stepping into the moment of creation. I am free to begin again. And a lot of them kind of have these like affirmation type messages, like with the Magician, I know my capacity to manifest beyond my imagination. High Priestess, I trust and rely on my intuitive guidance. I trust and rely on intuitive guidance. The Empress, I embody the divine feminine. Let's flip and see. Queen of Swords, I embody radiant air. I ask the difficult questions. Like I think almost all of these have like an I message. Let's see, Knight of Wands, I burst into the fire. I invite creativity to blossom. Like, I just think these are so good. They're so interesting. They make me look at the cards in a different way that maybe I hadn't been before. 9 of Pentacles, I live in the garden of creative abundance and self-love. Like, that's just so beautiful. It's very poetic and very simplistic. So this is a deck that I was able to reconnect with. I tend to reach for this one also in the springtime, and maybe it's the colors and the feminine energy, but this was also fun to pull out this month. Okay, another deck, newer-ish to my collection. I think I got it last year, so it's about a year old. It's the Be With Your Body Tarot. And this deck, as the name implies, is really wonderful for connecting back with your body. You might be working on like self-love, body acceptance, learning to be back in your body, or practicing some type of like somatic work or somatic healing. So first of all, the artwork, absolutely stunning. It is like, I don't even know how you would describe this art style. There's a limited color palette. We've got these like figures and then botanicals, and these suits are renamed. So feet are pentacles, which makes sense, earth. Let's see if I can find the other ones. Eyes are swords. So feet are pentacles. Hips are cups, which makes sense because cups are emotions, and emotions are held in our hips. You might not know that, but a lot of our emotions are held in our hips. I learned that from yoga. And then hands are wands, which also makes sense because with our hands, we can create. And when I think of create, I think of creative energy and fire and passion. So I love the renaming of the suits. That really connects the elemental energies back with our physical body, which I think is brilliant. I'll show you a little bit more of this artwork, and then I'll show you the guidebook, which I absolutely adore. So the guidebook is fantastic. I always use this guidebook. So for each card, it does give you like a card description, astrology, and flower that's depicted in the card. It gives keywords. It gives an upright message and a reverse message that give a kind of spin to the traditional card in context to our body. And then every single card, including the minors, gets an affirmation. And I think that's fantastic. So like, let's do Page of Hands, which would be Page of Wands. I'll just share the affirmation. For this card: with my drive leading the way, the path will clear as the time is right. And I'm just like such a fan of cards that come with an affirmation, because you can simply, again, when you're feeling burnt out from tarot, you could do a simple one card pull and get an affirmation for the day. And maybe that's all you do. Maybe you just leave the card out and just keep that affirmation in mind all day. Or maybe you journal with it, or maybe you meditate with it. I think this deck is wonderful for beginners and seasoned readers. I'm just such a fan of this deck. Who was the creator? It's written by Sarah Jane Chapman and illustrated by Sarah Stressy. Wonderful deck. Really loved it. Also, I really get that springtime energy from this deck, but I think you could work with it year round. But love that so much. All right, two more decks. So another deck that I pulled out this month, and I don't have a box for it because I believe when I bought this, it was a damaged box sale. This is the Considerate Cat Tarot. So I do not have a box. These are the backs. And I'm not even a cat person, but I remember years ago when I discovered this deck, I thought the artwork was just so charming. It's just so soft and delicate, and the cats are adorable. The color palettes are so soothing. The color palette feels very spring energy to me, which is why I like to break this deck out in the spring. I didn't use it too much this month, but I'm just so glad I have this in my collection. Ooh, these cards are kind of falling over. And it's just so lovely. Like, so many flowers. Look at this lover's card. So sweet. Look at all these pretty flowers. This deck just feels super springy to me. And I don't have much else to say. I didn't use this deck too much this month, other than it's adorable. Look at this Chariot card. So cute. And I love it. The only thing I'm missing out on, since I bought this like as a damaged box and I only got the cards, is I think there's a guidebook that comes with it, and I'd be curious how the guidebook reads, but again, you know, you don't really need a guidebook for it. It's a great deck. So didn't use this much this month, but I'm still glad I have it. Okay, and the last deck I used this month is the Hedge Botanical Oracle. This is by Ciolo Thompson, and I know this is like a fan favorite in the community. I actually got this in a trade, I believe. So it wasn't something that I would have normally purchased, but I'm so glad I have it. These are the pretty botanical backs, and everything about this deck, again, screams spring to me. So we've got these like really clean white space backgrounds and the delicate line work of the flowers and plants and herbs. And I like how we have identification of, you know, whatever botanical is here and the Latin name for it, but we get a keyword, and it's a keyword I can work with. So I think this deck is really versatile if you want to pair this with tarot. If you just want to use oracle, we could just use the keywords. And I find myself using this a lot and not really needing the guidebook, but the guidebook is excellent, and I'm going to show that as well. And this is the only deck I have from Ciolo Thompson. I know the other decks are really popular. Is it Line Strider? I don't really have a desire to have that or use it. I think this deck works perfectly as a niche deck for me when I want to work with like nature-based energy, spring energy. So that's really nice. The guidebook is excellent. Each one we get like a full image of the card. We get a little bit about the plants. So you can also use this guidebook if you want to learn more about botanicals. And I love how it shares a bit about the botanical and then more like a bit of a divination meaning. So I think that's really great. And I believe, if I remember correctly, each entry also connects that oracle to a card in tarot, I believe. Yeah. So for adventure, Samphire, it connects to, it's related to the Two of Wands. The Salal or subdue connects to Temperance and the Chariot. So it gives you a nice like crossover to connect to tarot if you're already, you know, a tarot reader. So really enjoyed that deck. And that, my friends, are the decks I worked with this month in April amidst the tarot burnout. And I gotta say, upon reflection, I think I did a really great job of navigating, you know, the fine balance of just feeling disconnected with the cards, along with still using my cards and maybe using them in different ways that maybe, I don't know, maybe I wouldn't have normally, or just doing one card pulls or just focusing on affirmations. I think that was really helpful. So for anyone who's also maybe experiencing tarot burnout, I'm super curious what you've done to kind of get yourself out of that funk or just try to reconnect. Did any of those tips help you? Let me know any of your comments down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like. And if you're new here, I'd love for you to subscribe. It's free to do. It just supports growing my little tarot channel over here. And yeah, let me know all the things down below. I love reading your comments and responding. And I will see you all in the next video. So take care, everyone. Bye.